Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Namita. If you're new here on this channel, we talk about master's life, work life and many more things. Today we are talking about what not to do when you want to take up master's degree. These pointers are applicable no matter where you want to do your master's, in India or any other country or United States, no matter what. I think if you can keep these points in mind, you will avoid many mistakes that will make your master's journey easier. I wanted to cover a lot of topics, so I'm going to break this video down into two parts. Part 1 is this, and then next week you will see part 2. With that said, let's get started. Point 1, not thinking through to the end. Now, let me tell you this, I am an overthinker. I can get a certification in overthinking. So, I can tell you there is a very thin, blurry line between being prepared and overthinking things. But when it comes to master's degree, when it comes to you making the next change in your career, taking the next step, you would rather be informed and know everything than having to change in the middle of the course or in the middle of the degree because you realize it might not be right for you. Now let me explain. Every time somebody comes to me with a question on master's degree, one of the first questions is always how are the job prospects, and that is a very valid question. But you don't want to be thinking what happens just after you get the degree, but you also want to think about what happens in the long run. Now, one thing you need to remember is this: a master's degree is going to change your career no matter what is your reason for taking it up, whether you're taking it to advance in your career in your area of expertise, or whether you're doing it because you want to change it. No matter what you do, then on your resume, your latest education will be your master's degree, and that's what gets most attention, and that's what you should be benefiting off of. So when you make plans, when you're choosing your degree, when you want to select your course, you should also think about whether this will be valid for you maybe 15 years from now. I understand technology, the technical field changes very rapidly. Whatever was super cool and super booming 10 years ago is not so anymore. So while you cannot make a very perfect decision and you cannot really predict what's going to happen 20 years from now, you can always place yourself in a position where you can evolve further when you get there. You don't want to be stuck with something that does not have a go forward to, you don't want to be stuck in a dead end. So I would suggest, no matter what it is that you want to get your degree in, you think through, you talk to people who are currently having a lot of work experience. I'm thinking 10 plus years of work experience. You talk to someone who is currently studying it. You also talk to somebody who is in between, somebody who's just started working, or somebody who just started managing people, or somebody who is pretty into it but they're also doing other things. It's always helpful to have multiple perspectives, so then you are making the most informed decision that you can make. Point number 2 is overgeneralizing. Now, I'm going to give an example that's going to make this really clear. I'm not sure what other courses probably have similar concepts in them, but I'm sure even if you are, say, a mechanical engineer, there is something, an aspect of your career that usually gets questions like this. So for me, it's always, most often this question, and this usually comes from my readers on Quora. Maybe they read an answer. It goes like, hey, I'm also like you, I don't like coding. Do you think MIS is still right for me? Now, when you are somebody with a non-technical background, you might not really understand what exactly coding means. Coding is a very broad term. When I talk about I was not particularly interested in coding, I'm talking about software development as a whole, like a full-on hardcore software developer. Now, even though right now I'm a data scientist, I code on a daily basis. I write R scripts, I have SQL queries, I write code for my DAX queries. There is so many things I do that requires me to be logically, technically proficient to understand it. Now, everyone has a different definition of what code is, but in my books, code for me is something where I write some steps, plenty of steps, where I'm taking something and getting something else out of it because I applied a ton of some things in between. I don't even know if that made sense. So code is not always about having to know Java or having to be super full-on full-stack developer. That's not what it is. Coding is something where you are able to go from point A to point B by doing something in between. Now, I'm still true to my words when I say I'm not particularly interested in coding, but I'm going to refine it and say, I mean software development. I mean being a web developer, being a Java developer, right? I still love SQL. I write queries on databases all the time. I'm constantly making changes to data. I'm cleansing it. I'm extracting it. I'm doing all sorts of things to data. Even Excel sheets, right? Even when you're writing advanced Excel VLOOKUPs or you're writing H lookups, you are writing code. So if coding at all does not interest you, then you should ask yourself, why is it that you want to do MIS? If now that point is clear, you can apply this to anything and everything where you are trying to pick something that you want and you're hoping that the things that you don't want can be avoided throughout the course, right? The question goes also like this: hey, I don't know coding, do you think I can do rest of the subjects? Now, you have to have a holistic approach to things. It cannot be where you are like, okay, I'm going to be so cool at these 6 subjects and the other 4 subjects I'm just going to hope for the best. It does not how it works, because when you are doing project work, when you have team members, the way work gets divided is based on how proficient someone is, but also one person cannot like sort of take care of the whole thing, and this is what applies in work also. For example, if I'm working with my colleague and I say, I don't really care for coding, I'm not going to write this R script for you, or I'm not going to execute it for you, I'm not going to care about what's in the script because I don't like coding, that's not very nice of me, and that really won't take me too far along on my job. So you need to understand that you cannot overgeneralize and say, I'm going to take up MIS because I don't like coding, but there are other things I like. You also have to understand that everything adds up for you to get a degree. So if you apply this to mechanical engineering maybe, or you want to be an industrial engineer, I'm pretty sure there are subjects like this which fall in the gray area. So make sure that you're not having to convince yourself that a degree is right for you if you avoid certain aspects of it. That's not how you arrive at a decision. You should not do it, because if there comes a time in your career, maybe on your job or a project work or a co-op or an internship, where you're expected to know that because your degree is going to have it as a part of it, you will be in trouble, because as it is, a lot of things are self-learning. We tend to learn a lot on job based on what we need, what our clients need, what's the requirement. So you should have the basic skills where you are able to take it from there. Sure, you can learn it on job, you can honestly just learn something from a Coursera or an edX course, but if you don't have the basics in place, if you don't have the foundations in place, it's going to be pretty difficult, and it's not worth the amount of time you will have to spend every time there is something new that you don't like, but you have to do it, and it's going to be really, really stressful. So definitely keep that in mind. Do not overgeneralize things and pick what you want and leave what you don't want. Point number 3 is this: not understanding the investments you're throwing into get a degree. Now, when I say investment, I don't just mean money, I'm also talking about time and effort. I'm going to stick with master's degrees because that's what I have, and I gave in 2 years of my life to get the degree, and I spent another year where I was working full time and I prepared. I had my GRE exams, I had TOEFL, I had to write my SOPs, my resume, my recommendations, my research. Researching a university takes so much of your time. It's not something, even if you're in India, right? I'm from Bangalore. Even if you were to get your master's degree in something in Bangalore, it requires you to prepare. You need to write entrance exams. You need to be aware of what's going to be asked when you go in for face-to-face interviews. It is a lot of work. So when you're investing so much into something, you also should be very, very aware of what's going to come out of it. This is called return on investment, and I'm not definitely just talking about money. You can tie my previous 2 points to this. Now, if I'm going to spend 2 years of my life plus 1 year in India on getting a master's degree, and I'm going to be investing X, Y, and Z dollars into this, X, Y, and Z lakh of loan I'm getting from the bank with mortgage. How fast will I be able to pay the loan back? Or whatever that I'm learning, will it continue to help me? Will I be able to thrive on it going further? Like 15 years down the lane, will data analytics still be valid? Hell yes, it will be. So you need to make these decisions after you do a ton of research. Now, there's a very easy way, a very simple way to sort of figure out what you can expect out of a course. Any university website has a section called course outcomes or program outcomes, and that sheet usually has a list of alumni, some featured alumni. It also talks about salaries, it talks about the job positions, and it also talks about the immigration pointers if it's applicable. So what you do is you go there and you see the range of salary. For example, I'm just going to throw random numbers here. Say you're looking at a course and the average lies between $60,000 and then $150,000, right? That's a very huge range. So when I have to make my decision on how much money I think I'm willing to invest, how much time I'm willing to invest, I am not going to take the best case scenario. I'm not going to look at, wow, $150,000 as my salary, because as you guys know, living cost is a huge variable all across United States. Each state, even cities, have different living cost, living expenses. In fact, I spend a lot more in New Jersey. I stay like 10 minutes away from New York than I used to spend when I was in Texas, when I was in College Station. So now, if I were to make a decision, the way I went about it was I'd set my budget on how much I wanted to spend towards my master's, and then I saw the outcomes, and then I figured if this is my limit, if this is how much I think I'm willing to invest towards my master's degree, and if this is the outcome, am I happy with it, right? And for me, that's what made me finalize and shortlist really my universities. And honestly, I think I had a really good result out of it. I'm working a job that I really love. I do have my bad days when I want to break my laptop. For the most part, I'm doing really good. I love what I do, and also I'm staying in a city that I've always dreamt of being in, staying close, like 10 minutes away. And also I'm online towards my financial goals as well. So when you make these decisions, it's really helpful to have to take the mid-range, to have your aim to be the mid-range and not the best case scenario or the worst case scenario. Now, I am not the most optimistic person. In fact, I am kind of a realist with a bit of a pessimist in me. I just always like to prepare myself for a worst case scenario, just because then I know I'm equipped to handle whatever the most horrible thing that can happen. And when things happen better, it's just bonus. And if things go wrong, then I'm already prepared for it. I know it causes a ton of stress when you think like that, but when you are investing so much time, effort and energy into a degree, it's really important that you're also in knowing of what you're going to get out of it. So you go on a website, you see the salary ranges, and you pick what you think is okay for you, and what you think is like, okay, worst case scenario, I end up with a job that pays me so and so many dollars, and I end up in a place which pays me which helps me advance in my career like this. I end up with these job titles, I'm good to go, I'm okay with the investment. So that's how you that's how you sort of arrive at ROI. If you put together all these 3 points, it will help you make the big decisions: what degree, where, when, how much. And these are really great if they're answered, so then you know. In spite of having so many variables, you guys, when you take up master's degree, you're sort of uncertain of what the outcome is going to be. If you have at least these questions answered, then the smaller questions, which I will be dealing with in the next video, you will find it much easier to find answers to. with this said, I'm ending this video. You guys have a great weekend. Let me know what you thought of this video. Leave comments and also send me messages. Follow me on Instagram so you know I update you when there is a new video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Let your friends know if you think they can benefit from this video, and I will see you next week. Take care.